Executive Editor at Large at Black Enterprise, with another edition of Your Money, Your Life, our series on all things financial wellness. This episode of Your Money, Your Life is brought to you by Prudential, a 50-year partner of Earl Grave Sr. in his mission of creating sustainable generational wealth in the Black community. Find out why more than 25 million people turn to Prudential for guidance on building a legacy. Learn more at prudential.com/legacy. Welcome to the show, everybody. We all are dealing with a tremendous amount of financial anxiety. Actually, that may be our normal state, but in this current environment, with a pandemic, with an election, with people losing jobs, people working jobs at home while educating kids, and maybe taking care of an elderly relative, the stress levels are even higher, and the anxiety is even higher with the uncertainty that we're dealing with. I have the perfect guest to have a conversation about how we cope with this. Please welcome to the show, Shani Curry St. Ville, founder, Purse Empowerment, author, 10 Things Every Woman Should Keep in Her Purse. Shani, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to communicate with you. We always come up with some better ways to relate to money and better ways to communicate with others about the healthy things that we're doing with our money. So thank you very much for creating this space.
Yeah, I mean, when I thought about this topic, I thought about you because you and I have had many conversations about this issue. I mean, besides this current environment, because you're one of the experts that really recognizes the emotion and around attached to our relationship with money, that how it affects how we view money, how we see ourselves, how we feel about life and ourselves, and then how that affects the habits that we have, whether they're good or bad, and making money decisions. Talk to me a little bit. Let's go back a little bit so our audience can get a feel for your approach to your expertise. Talk about the book that I reviewed for blackenterprise.com, 10 Things Every Woman Should Keep in Her Purse, but also talk about how you came to this space as a financial expert, as someone who talks about this on a regular basis with clients and others.
Okay, so my book, 10 Things Every Woman Should Keep in Her Purse, was written now a decade ago. And I wrote the book in terms of being able to create very relatable language for women to be able to connect with their purses beyond the status symbol that it can suggest on their behalf without them opening their mouth. So the book is called 10 Things Every Woman Should Keep in Her Purse, that leads you back towards your financial journey. That is the work that I've been doing with women specifically over the last decade, helping them to create home ownership, improve their credit score, create their first $10,000, and then moving on to $100,000. So I've enjoyed that work deeply. What I have found even more rewarding as I've been doing that work for a decade and just helping people materialize these things that they have in their mind would like to accomplish, whether it be the house, the dog, the condo, the boat, the award. The greater challenge is being able to help them heal their relationship with money, because in the clients that I work with whose incomes range anywhere from $45,000 to $250,000, what I find that they often disconnect from is the relationship that they have with their money. Like, what makes them buy a thing? What creates this excessive nature? What stops you from investing hoard money when you should be connecting to opportunity? What's still in your retirement age has you competing with your siblings and robbing you of your income and some of your legacy, you know? So those are the type of conversations that I am really triggering people to have specifically in this time. You know, I think that while we need to focus on our health, I think that we need to focus on how we think about, create, generate, and share wealth, and how that plays a huge role in our emotional health.
That's why you're the perfect person to have this conversation with.
Yes.
Fast forward to the present. Like you said, everything you just described is part of the everyday, normal challenges of navigating our financial lives. Now we layer on everything that, and I'm not even going to go through the list of the multiple pandemics, that we're dealing with as a nation, as Black people, as Black families, as women, Black women. What are you finding now, both in terms of what you're observing around you and what your clients are coping with that may be even above and beyond the normal things that you have to work with them on?
Okay, so what a lot of my clients are having to deal with amid the cash flow challenges are the relational challenges that are creating cash flow challenges, right? So interesting enough, while we cannot really embrace escapism, whether escapism is stemming from being able to go to work, going to happy hour, hanging out in the club. A lot of those things are really minimized at this time. So for those that were in relationships that were not necessarily healthy, they are now having to be forced to deal with those relationships. Those relationships are not only being challenged on the spousal level, but they're also being challenged on the communal level, because we're just having to spend more time with spouses, friends, mates. All of that connectivity is creating challenges. So I work with my clients in terms of some of them needing to save money for their survival, right? Because they may be in an abusive relationship. So now they're having to save money so that they can now get their own, own apartments, purchase their own homes. So things like safety and mental health are really driving how people relate to money. How they share money is creating challenges as well, because when there's an abundance of resources, oftentimes we kind of turn a blind eye to overspending. But when we have to kind of watch our cash flow a little bit, because we cannot, while there is some level of prediction available to us, there's still a little bit of fear and anxiety that's being, inserted into us just, from the election, just from looking at death tolls, and just knowing maybe you're, a friend of a friend of a friend has passed away from COVID. So that noise on the outside is having an impact on habits from going to the grocery store, overspending. I'm seeing some of my clients, while they cannot go to maybe the bar, happy hour, they're taking these trips, right, that they cannot necessarily afford. Granted, it is a little bit less expensive to travel at this time, but when you're looking at that in terms of where they are within their relationship and how that cash flow is kind of being stagnated by this, random travel and what that does to their overall financial picture, I'm finding that relationships are having a huge impact on how money is being related to at this time.
That is such an important point. It's a point that I've stressed often in the past 5 years. As I draw the connection between relationship health, mental wellness, and financial decision making. I mean, behavioral finance is something I'm passionate about. I won't say I'm an expert in, but it's so important to recognize that how you feel is going to impact your relationships, and how you feel about your relationships is going to have a direct impact on how money is used or abused in a household. Especially among the if there's two income earners, or at least two people who have decision-making power over what happens to those resources. But often kids have as much, decision-making power as parents. So if you don't have a real grip on the emotional forces that's affecting everyone in a household, then you can lose your grip on control of the money and making sure it's going where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about the children. So interesting enough, with children, even when they don't have, purchasing power, they do have power as it relates to influence, right? So they have the ability to influence what you purchase, based on their disappointment level, based on this reward-based thinking that they may be, kind of shaped to embrace through society. So yeah, they play a large role in that as well. So I am working with a lot of my clients from the standpoint of analyzing their budget and asking, okay, why we set a budget for you to eat out this month in the amount of $200. Why, when I look at what you said you were going to spend versus what you actually spent, why is what you actually spent $1,900, right?
Wow.
Why are you spending so much money on food, right? And you say to me, I can't stay in the home. I can't cook in my kitchen. It is too, there's too much noise. There's too much arguing. So in order for me to feed my children in the healthiest, quickest way, I have to do that outside. It's just easier for me to eat in a restaurant. It's just easier for me, to go out. And then, so when I look at that, right, I have to let you look at the statistical data to say, look at what you're doing, like $1,900, you could actually, you know, save up for a house. You've done this for 3 months. If you decided that you need to move out of this relationship, you need to maybe eat sandwiches for a period of time. Because if you feel, so emotionally stressed by, who you live with, who you share space with, instead of milking your budget, keep eating out, keep spending money in hotels, maybe just curb that for a period of time. Because I'm looking at your behaviors for 3 months. You can take this money and maybe, put a down payment or something. Use this money to, maybe you need a temporary rental, maybe you need an Airbnb, but they just have to see the data so that the data begins to influence their behavior. Because oftentimes, because there's such a detachment between what they swipe and what they live, they can't see it until, I show it to them so that they can see how your emotional, situation is creating a financial situation, and you're not putting yourself in the best position to grow.
Another phenomenon I'd like you to comment on, and I've had several financial experts on the show talk about this in the past year, is, people are isolated. Like you said, they may be able to go out, they may not be able to go out, but it's easy to get on your phone or get on your computer and order from Amazon and get the thrill of a box coming to your house every day or every other day, to the point where it's not even about what's in the box anymore. It's just having something to look forward to. You go outside and it's like Christmas because there's something on your step. And
Yeah.
that has, people's budget are spinning out of control because it's just too easy to. I mean, I have Amazon Prime. You hit it, next day it's at your house.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that among your client base?
Yes, I do. I get to look at, because the way how I get to analyze data is not just by the amounts, it's where, right? So if the expense, I probably will look over $50, but like if I see your Amazon at $300, $400, and then I'm going to stop there and I'm going to say, well, what did you buy? Why did you buy this? And then I get to hear the stories behind why they bought it, and, what they're going to use it. And sometimes after we kind of go through an experience, let's say, for instance, if it's the same client habitually, spending this $300, $400 on Amazon, I will make them like, okay, what did you buy? And just the experience of listing what you actually bought. Sometimes I can get them to return things, especially if there's duplication in what it is that they have been buying, like, okay, you bought 5 robes, sis. Okay, you bought 8 pairs of shoes. You're really not going anywhere. What is this about? Is this about your boredom? Is this about your need for entertainment? Do you need a challenge? Is this what this behavior is? So seeing it, right, is believing it. Because sometimes you can't see, you can't see how you're just swiping. You can't see it. So you need to be able to let yourself look at the information that you're creating for yourself so you can do something else with the money.
That's a great point. Listen, stick it right there. I just want to hit this host read. This episode of Your Money, Your Life is brought to you by Prudential, a 50-year partner of Earl Graves Sr. and his mission of creating sustainable generational wealth in the Black community. During that time, Prudential and Black Enterprise have collaborated to promote the personal and societal benefits of career, entrepreneurship, and money management. Today, as both new and continuing challenges present themselves, Prudential is committed to helping people build lasting legacies. Visit prudential.com/legacy to learn more. Okay, Shani, now I want to get to what I've been really waiting for, because this is the newest thing. I mean, I follow you on social, so I'm paying attention to what you're doing. Talk to me about money therapy and what that is and what you're doing, and how what you learned that could be a benefit to our audience.
So essentially, the largest part of money therapy that I enjoy when I'm working one-on-one with my clients is getting them to see. I believe that your eyes have the power to really heal you. So for some of my clients that are challenged by this excessive Amazon spending, one of the things that I will encourage them to do is I will have them to count items that they've purchased. So one of my clients, she went through a divorce, and for whatever reason, because of it, she started overspending excessively, right? And one of the things that she liked to do was buy jewelry. She was buying an excessive amount of jewelry. So the way how I got or encouraged her to reduce her spending when it came to buying jewelry is I had her to count how many necklaces she had. So when she counted the necklaces that she actually had 88 necklaces, right? She needed to see her obsession. She needed to see, what it is that she was bringing within her, this excessive need to just consume and consume, and how even with all of the necklaces that she had, she was no happier, than when she bought them and when she did not have them, So her being able to see that. I also had her to count the amount of shoes that she had, just so that she can see you have 2 feet, yet you have this amount of shoes, right? So just looking at what it is that you have, it allows you to see your abundance. It allows you to experience it just by counting. So that's one of the things that I encourage those that feel that they are not a good steward of their money because they are just, high on consumerism. And that means you're kind of disconnected from how much you already have. Just look at it. Anything you feel obsessive about, purses, lipstick, dresses, whatever it is, right? And why would we drop down to that type of behavior? Because is it standing in the way of you being able to invest? Is it staying in the way of you being able to invest in the market or invest in your business?
Or is it feeding your anxiety because there's other things you want to try to do that you can't do because your resources are going in this direction, and now
Exactly. Right. And you actually can do them, right? You actually can do them. It's just that you're not allocating because you're not aware. So sometimes you feel like, oftentimes my clients, I say, oh, okay, well, let's look at your income and let's look at your expenses. Okay, this is how much money you have left over, right? If you lived your life exactly like this budget, this is how much money you have left over. 500, amounts, of the income in the income versus the expenses. There's always like this space in the middle, right? Where they can decide, okay, here's what I can do with this money to grow, save, share, and invest. Lost a train of thought. So that would be the encouragement as you relate, just to really just look at the amount of money that you have look at the amount of things that you have available to you and how you're choosing to use that money. In the corporate way that I'm doing it more in larger groups, right? There was a course that was provided by Harvard. I believe you can still take it. It's available at Coursera. And I was so happy to get my hands on some of the research that Harvard did as it relates to you only needing to make $75,000 as an American and be happy. Right? This statistical data is things that I've been saying over a decade. So I am so happy that they were able to provide some research to go with the things that I had been saying to my clients all along, because now I can say, here is some proof from Harvard. I'm so happy about it.
I think I'm familiar with that research, because I think what it showed is that beyond that amount, you don't become happier with the more money you make beyond that amount.
No, you don't. You don't. Like, you could make 76,000, or you could make $376,000. You're not going to be any happier than you're at the 75. And what the 75 means is that you can have a car, a house, get your hair done, invest in your 401k, and not really, be excessively worried about money. Right. And then what they did was they gave these behaviors that you actually need to do every single day in order to actually be happy. And
Wow.
so in a corporate way and more in a social way, I am inserting those things, not because I do not want people to make more money. I just do not want them to go crazy if they don't hit this numeric dollar in the back of their minds, because even when you hit that number, you're not going to be any happier. You have to have daily activity, that is going to allow you to have a healthy mood so that you can make healthy decisions, whether they're financial, relational, health wise. You just gotta manage that mood in a more effective way.
Now, I want you to hold that because before the end of this conversation, I want you to drop 2 or 3 of those healthy things that we should be doing daily to achieve that state. But before we get there, I want to make another point that's related to your point about seeing and how important seeing is to making better decisions, managing stress levels. And this is something I experienced personally. When I won't look at it, it seems a big, scary thing. I mean, just take debt. When I just know I have debt, but I won't look to actually see how much it is, who I owe, what the interest rates are, it seems like it's like the monster under the bed. But when I look at it, and I've had this experience with others, then you look at it and you can put your eyes on it, and then you can say, wait, I actually can knock that out. I can do it. It's not as scary anymore because you're looking at it. And so many people have anxiety because they won't even look at it. They won't look at the budget. They won't, or maybe they had a job loss. They won't adjust the budget. They'll just panic or be anxious because of the lost income. When if you look at it, you usually can figure out a way around it in the short run and often in the long run. So talk to me about that in terms of people's.
Yes, so that's also
Look
a
at it.
very interesting experience. So oftentimes, a lot of my clients come to me because they want to purchase their first or second home. So one of the requirements for that is to have a decent credit score. Typically right at that 660 and above, right? And oftentimes they have like this fear of just looking at their credit. And after a decade of working with individuals and looking at their credit, I am finding that what they think that it is not what it actually is, right? And what they're really afraid of is like they don't know, they lack the skill set on how to improve it. So it's really not so much that they're scared of looking at it. They're scared that like if they look at it, okay, what do I do next, right? So as soon as I get them to look at it and they see where they are, and oftentimes they go, oh, really? Right? Because they don't even know what the numbers really mean, right? They don't really know that the lowest credit score is 300, the highest is 850, right? When you get at 660, that's when you can start looking at home ownership if that's what your goal is. When you really don't want to start negotiating rates until you in that 680, 700, because they don't really want to negotiate prior to that in terms of your credit score. But once they are able to have information to go with that, to address that agitation, they relax because it's not so much that, okay, the number is the number, but the real fear is not having information about how to change it. So once you look, now you can change it. Once you look at your income, once you look at your budget, because not looking at this information will just allow you to perpetuate this cycle, and it's just going to grow. So if you already have like cash flow issues, you already have budget busters, the fact that you're not looking at them is just going to cause them to increase. But if you actually look, if you're already wasting $5,000, $10,000, whatever your number is, you can get a stop on it. And then you can start to do something else with that $10,000. So it's a lot about replacement behavior, looking at where you are and saying, how can I replace this?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So listen, in the time we have left, give me, I like 2 or 3, but give me a couple of these things that we should be doing
Okay.
every day.
All right. So you see how excited I get.
To make us happy no matter how much money we're making.
Yes, right. So you have to think, and what the science suggests is that you have to think about your happiness as if you are brushing your teeth every single day. So happiness will not have any residual impacts. It doesn't matter what you do today. It's not going to roll over to tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. In order to experience happiness, think about it like brushing your teeth. You have to do a few different things every single day. All right at the top of them are things that I'm sure everyone knows, but once you get some statistical data to say, hey, listen, if you do this, you're going to be happier. Number one, moving your body. every single day. Doesn't matter if you're bodybuilding like you or if you're doing yoga like me. Move your body. It has benefits that is going to suggest to you biologically, physiologically, that you are just going to benefit from those hormones. Just move your body, jumping rope, running, dancing, whatever you prefer. Move your body. Meditation. Meditation is highly associated with your elevation as it relates to being a happier human being operating in this space. So just sit down and quiet your mind. In this quiet, you get to detach from a lot of the chaos that you are experiencing, no matter where they're coming from, whether if they're coming from your relationship or they're coming from COVID, just sitting down, right? And then sitting down will hopefully escalate you to that third behavior, which is gratitude. Gratitude. That's what I have a lot of my clients just grounding themselves in gratitude. So simply just sitting down, writing a list of everything that you currently have available to you will begin to calm your mind. And what it does is suggest that if I can do this, eventually I will do this too. So simple things like I can sit upright in a chair. I can breathe without pause at this moment. And the most expensive part about you is your breath in your blood. So the fact that you do not have to replace that means that you are in a good position to continue to create wealth, because those two base level things, breath and blood, you're good.
Wow, that is so on point. Listen, Shani, I'm going to leave it there. I mean, I knew you were going to be great. That is great. Like, I'm going to take that, like I always do with my guests, apply that to my own life. That is amazing. Listen,
Yeah. Yeah, that once you have secured that breath and blood, everything after that is extra. Because what I am sharing with my clients, like, okay, listen, you're kind of driven because you have this income goal that you want to get to, and I want you to experience the accomplishment. Oh, one last thing,
yeah.
negative effects of the mind, right? Hedonistic adaptation was one of the things that the research continued to insist upon. This idea of hedonistic adaptation is basically where your mind has a negative function where it just gets bored. It gets bored. It gets bored with the job. It gets bored with the money. It gets bored with the car. It gets bored with the relationship. It gets bored with the house. It doesn't matter. After maybe about 3 to 6 months, whatever it is that you bought, it eventually starts to feel like a debt, right? It's a negative aspect of the brain. And the only way to really be able to move in the middle of this hedonistic adaptation that they're talking about that makes us consume over and over again is through gratitude, right? Because typically after you've gotten the car, the leather has worn, the smell of it, the adrenaline rush is all gone. All of that is attached to hedonistic adaptation because now your brain and your body is ready for a new experience. It's just ready for a new one. That's what kind of drives consumerism, this hedonistic adaptation, because we constantly want this, we want this joy from getting, this joy from getting, this joy from getting, and it's great. It's great.
The new thing, the latest thing, the new thing, the latest thing.
Yeah, all the time. And it's not necessarily negative because as long as you're operating on the planet, you're going to want to expand, right? You're going to want more muscles. You're going to want another bag. You're going to constant. It's just constant. But the only way to peacefully transition from the new income, the new body, the new budget, whatever it is to do so with some level of gratitude, because when you get there, you won't want to get somewhere anyway. You won't want to go somewhere else. If you go to Hawaii, soon you'll want to go to Fiji.
Yeah.
It's just so you might as well not be unhappy as you make it to these different levels, because you're always going to want to go to a different level. That helped me in terms of, like, sometimes people feel so ungrateful. So that was kind of like a cure that, hey, your brain is going to suggest to you over and over again that we're kind of bored. We're ready for something else. We're ready for a new challenge. So you should recognize that that is all that it is, whether it's cash, a new apartment, a new condo, a new house, a bigger business, a new job, a new position, whatever you want to fit into the context of, a desire. You're always going to want to 10x that thing. You're always going to want to. But in order to be happy as you continue to 10x the things in your life, is that here's a few activities that's going to make sure that you don't attach your happiness to those things, because they're just going to be fleeting anyway. You're going to want to nuance this.
Critical. I mean, this current environment where some people are being pushed further away from their goal. that gratitude can be the insulation. Maybe if your goal was to make 100,000 a year, and because of the current environment, you were furloughed or you took a pay cut or you even lost your job and you were just about to make that goal, and now you're pushed back, that foundation of gratitude behavior, that the meditate, it creates a foundation that insulates you because again, you're not attaching your happiness to that goal. And you have the hope that you can still get there. You have a few steps back, but you'll get back
And
on.
kind of seeing your goals outside of yourself when you have a detachment from them is kind of knowing, due to hedonistic adaptation, even when you make it to that particular income goal, in a few months, you're going to want to get to another one. No matter what number it is, whether it's $1 million, a bajillion dollars, whatever number it is, you're always going to want more. As long as you're on the planet, your desire to, do better than what you currently are doing is always going to be there. So that desire cannot be attached to your happiness because it's so fleeting. It's so fleeting.
Right. And that's how you have people who have a whole bunch of stuff and are miserable.
Yeah, because it's not going to make them happy anyway. It's just it's that you don't know that you're operating under this negative aspect of your mind that's suggesting, hey, get more pleasure. It's like sugar, so no matter how much sugar you take in, you're still going to want more sugar. In fact, the more sugar that you get, your sugar tolerance begins to increase, so now it takes more sugar to fill it. That's all that's happening, but you're not more happier. So it would be better if you go back to some of the base level ways of being able to condition your mind so that you can be in a good mood and you can make healthy decisions as it relates to your money, to the people that are in your world, whether they are taking insurance space with you professionally or personally. Take in some of those daily activities because those are going to make you way happier than the money that you are going to get. It doesn't matter the number. It doesn't matter. Any number you want, put it in there. It's not going to make you happy.
Listen, Shani, how can the Your Money, Your Life audience get more from you? Where can they find you? I mean, you really dropped a whole bunch of gems now, but there's going to be more. I know there's more you have to offer. What's the best way for people to contact and get in touch with you and follow what you're doing?
The best way, I am all things person empowerment. Anywhere that you look socially, you can connect with me there. I am always sharing these tidbits to make sure that you are happier. People often ask me, why is it that they're always asking me, why is it that I am so driven by such behavior in terms of inspiring people to be happy? Because I want to share the world with happier people. I want to share the world with happier people. That's what that is like my larger goal. That's why I like to talk about money. That's why I like to connect my clients to healthier behaviors, healthier budgets, healthier mindsets, so that we can share this planet in the best possible way. And once we begin to kind of address some of the negative aspects of our minds, we can do that. We can be kinder to each other. We can be more patient towards each other. We can be more loving towards each other. And that's my goal.
Now, if that's not what financial wellness is all about and the benefits of it, I don't know what is. I think it's a perfect point to end our conversation. Shani, thank you again for making time to be on the show.
Thank you.
This episode of Your Money, Your Life is brought to you by Prudential, a 50-year partner of Earl Grey Sr. and his mission of creating sustainable generational wealth in the Black community. Find out why more than 25 million people turn to Prudential for guidance in building a legacy, and learn more at prudential.com/legacy. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. with Black Enterprise. You've been listening to Your Money, Your Life. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.